I never thought a 10-hour drive through a literal blizzard would lead to me standing frozen in my own daughter's hallway, listening to the very people I loved most discuss how much of a burden my presence was. I had the keys, I had the presents, and I had a heart full of excitement, but within 30 seconds of stepping through that door, I realized I wasn't the guest of honor. I was the nuisance they were hoping would get snowed in at a rest stop. Was I wrong for turning right back around and leaving them with nothing but the bill for the dinner I'd already paid for? I want you to listen to this and tell me honestly if you would have stayed to play nice, or if you would have done exactly what I did. The journey started at 4 a.m. in a gray, biting chill that should have been my first warning. My daughter, Sarah, had been calling me for weeks, telling me how much the grandkids missed me and how it wouldn't be Christmas without Dad. I'm 62, retired, and living a quiet life 3 states away, so the idea of a big family Christmas was the only thing I wanted. I spent 2 months picking out the perfect gifts, a high-end gaming laptop for my grandson, Leo, and a vintage locket Sarah had mentioned wanting years ago. I packed my SUV until the suspension creaked, loaded up a cooler of specialty meats for the Christmas roast, and hit the road. About 4 hours in, the sky turned a bruised purple, and the snow started. It wasn't just a dusting. It was that heavy wet packing snow that turns the highway into a skating rink. Every GPS alert told me to turn back or find a hotel, but I kept going. I thought about Sarah's voice on the phone, sounding so desperate to have us all together. My wife passed away 3 years ago, and since then, holidays have been a bit of a ghost town for me. I pushed through the wind, my hands cramping from gripping the steering wheel as the visibility dropped to nearly zero. I saw 3 cars in the ditch, but I just kept praying I'd make it. As the wipers struggled against the ice, I kept envisioning the warm fireplace and the sound of my grandkids laughing. I even had a speech prepared, telling them how much I loved them and how glad I was to be there. I was running on caffeine and pure adrenaline, ignoring the dull ache in my back from being hunched over the wheel. The sheer isolation of that drive, miles of nothing but white swirling snow and the hum of the engine, makes what happened next feel like a fever dream. After 10 grueling hours of white-knuckle driving, I finally pulled into her driveway. The house was glowing with warm yellow lights, looking like a postcard. I felt this immense wave of relief and love. I decided to use the spare key they gave me years ago instead of ringing the bell and waking the kids, wanting to surprise them with the mountain of gifts. I stepped into the mudroom, shaking the snow off my coat, moving as quietly as a mouse. That's when I heard the voices coming from the kitchen. It was Sarah and her husband, Mark. I was about to shout Merry Christmas, but Sarah's tone stopped me cold. She sounded annoyed, almost disgusted. She was saying, "I'm telling you, Mark, if he actually makes it through this storm, it's going to ruin the whole vibe. He's so depressing since Mom died, and I really just wanted a quiet Christmas with us and your parents without having to babysit his emotions." I stood there, a box of expensive wine in my hands, feeling the blood drain from my face. Then I heard Mark reply, "Look, we only invited him because we need the down payment help for the new house. Just play the part for 2 days, let him give the kids the expensive stuff, and then we can go back to normal. It's a business transaction, Sarah. Think of the money." Sarah sighed, a sound that cut deeper than the cold outside, and said, I know. I just hope he stays in the guest room most of the time. It's exhausting pretending to care about his old stories." My heart didn't just break. It felt like it had been physically crushed. I stood there in the shadows of the hallway, listening to them laugh about how easy I was to manipulate. Sarah mentioned that she had already scoped out the furniture she wanted to buy with the money I was bringing. She joked about how she'd have to sit through another round of stories about my 40 years at the factory just to get that check. Mark laughed and said they should probably hide the good scotch before I got there, so I wouldn't drink it all while wallowing in my grief. Every word was a jagged stone being thrown at me. I looked at the hallway photos, pictures of Sarah's wedding, pictures of me holding Leo in the hospital, and realized they were just props to her. I felt like the floor had opened up beneath me. 10 hours of risking my life on icy roads, thousands of dollars in gifts in the trunk, and a lifetime of being a father, all reduced to a business transaction. I looked down at the locket in my pocket, the one I'd spent weeks sourcing to make her cry with joy, and I felt a coldness settle in my chest that had nothing to do with the weather. So that's the situation I was in. I was standing in the dark, hearing my own child plot how to use me for my money, while calling me a burden. Before I tell you how I handled the next 10 minutes, I want you to pause right now and comment below. If you heard your own child say those words after you traveled through a storm to see them, would you confront them, or would you just leave? I didn't scream. I didn't even make a sound. I realized then that a confrontation would just give them a chance to lie, to gaslight me, to tell me I misunderstood. But I knew what I heard. I turned around, walked back out into the freezing night, and gently clicked the door shut. The wind was howling now, a perfect mirror to the rage and sorrow screaming inside me. I went to the SUV and stared at the piles of boxes. I had spent so much time wrapping them, choosing the perfect bows, thinking about the look on their faces. Now those gifts felt like insults. I unloaded every single gift I had brought and stacked them right there on the snowy porch, but I didn't leave them for the kids. I took a thick permanent marker from my glove box and wrote, "Return to sender," in giant letters across every single box. I even took the premium prime rib roast out of the cooler and left it on top of the pile, knowing the local stray dogs or the freezing air would get to it before they even woke up. Then I remembered the business transaction. I had already transferred $50,000 to their joint account 2 days prior as a Christmas surprise, for their house down payment. I sat in my car, my hands shaking, and opened my banking app. Since it was a scheduled holiday transfer that hadn't fully cleared the bank's processing due to the weekend, I hit the cancel transaction button. It felt better than I started the engine, backed out of the driveway, and drove to a luxury hotel 20 miles away that I knew was still open. The drive to the hotel was silent. No music, no GPS, just the sound of my own breathing. I felt a strange sense of clarity. For 3 years, I had been trying to buy their love, thinking that if I provided enough, they would fill the hole my wife left behind. I was wrong. The next morning, my phone started exploding. It was 7 a.m. on Christmas Day. First came the "Where are you?" texts, then the "We saw the boxes on the porch, what's going on?" texts. Finally, the calls started. I let them ring until I was finished with a 5-star hotel breakfast, bacon, eggs, mimosas, the works. I even took a photo of my meal and posted it on my Facebook, knowing Sarah would see it. When I finally answered the 10th call, Sarah was hysterical. "Dad, where are you? Why are the gifts on the porch?" And the bank called. There was an error with the transfer. "Mark's car is gone. Dad, talk to me." I stayed perfectly calm, my voice as cold as the ice on the hotel window. I told her, "Sarah, I made it to the house last night. I was in the mudroom. I heard everything. I heard about the business transaction and how depressing I am. I heard Mark talk about hiding the scotch. So, I decided to save you the exhaustion of pretending to care. I'm at a resort, I'm having a wonderful Christmas alone. And that money is going toward a world cruise I've decided to take myself on." The silence on the other end was deafening. I could hear Mark in the background, probably realizing his new house just vanished into thin air. He tried to jump on the line to explain, saying I took it out of context, that they were just stressed. I just told him, "The transaction is closed, Mark. In every sense of the word. Don't worry about the car. I'm sure you can find a way to walk to the bank." I hung up and blocked them both for the rest of the trip. The aftermath was messy. My sister called me later saying Sarah was crying that I ruined Christmas for the grandkids. My sister tried to guilt me, saying the kids didn't do anything wrong. I told her the grandkids will get their gifts when they learn to have a mother who doesn't treat her father like a bank account. I told my sister that if she felt so badly for them, she was more than welcome to send Sarah $50,000 herself. That shut her up pretty quickly. I spent the rest of my vacation pampered and peaceful, realizing that my wife would have wanted me to stand up for myself. She was always the one who saw through Sarah's selfishness, and I used to defend our daughter. Now I finally see what she saw. I spent Christmas Day walking through a snowy park near the hotel, watching other families, but for the first time, I didn't feel lonely. I felt free. I'm back home now. And while they keep trying to send apology emails from new accounts, I can see they're still just asking for the money in a roundabout way. Sarah even had the nerve to say that the stress of the house made her say things she didn't mean. But I know the difference between stress and a plan. I've decided to sell the big family house and downsize to a small condo by the beach, using the extra cash to actually enjoy my retirement instead of funding people who see me as a chore. I've already booked my cruise, for months traveling the Mediterranean. I'm taking the locket with me, and I'm going to drop it into the ocean in honor of my wife, letting go of the past and the family that didn't deserve it. In the end, I learned that being family isn't about blood or tradition, it's about respect. If that respect isn't there, no amount of driving through snow will ever fix it. Like this video if you think I did the right thing by taking my money back and leaving. Subscribe for more stories about people standing up for themselves, and please share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. Did I go too far? Or did Sarah get exactly what she deserved? I'll see you all in the next story.